India has set an unsolicited world record for new coronavirus infections, reporting 349,691 more cases in the 24 hours and a loss of 2,767 lives. It only took a few weeks for COVID-19 triumph to turn into an overwhelming sense of desolation, anguish, and anger. Now, India feels like a broken country, drowning under a surge of COVID cases. Most of the COVID patients are suffering breathlessness in the second wave than any other symptom, leading to a greater need for oxygen. A severe shortage of medical oxygen supplies can be seen in hospitals all across the country. It is the need of the time to understand how India reached this point, who is up with the country in its bad times, and how the government itself is trying to prevent the situation from getting even worse. Let's figure out how India's second wave differs from the first one. The main change can be seen in the symptoms of COVID in the patients. The first wave reported the symptoms more like dry cough, joint pain, loss of smell or sore throat, and headaches. Only 41.7% of hospitalized patients reported shortness of breath. However, in the second wave, higher cases of breathlessness have been witnessed as compared to the first wave. There are 54.5% of hospitalized patients reporting shortness of breath, thus significantly raising the requirement of supplemental oxygen in the country. In the first wave, the virus was of the original form of SARS-CoV-2. However, in the past year, the virus has mutated many times over, and there are various unidentified mutations. Talking about the second wave, there is a double mutant, plus the UK, Brazilian, South African variants that have demonstrated to have higher transmissibility. People between 30 to 45 years of age testing positive remain the same as last year at 21%. No excess rate was seen in young people testing positive. In the first wave, people under 30 years of age constituted 31% positive cases. While in the second wave, it rose by 1%, making it to 32% of positive cases. Only a marginally high proportion of COVID-19 patients are of younger age. Still, more than 70% are above or equal to 40 years of age. The average age of patients in the first wave was 50 years. However, it now lowers to 49 years age as in second wave. Overall, the second wave of COVID-19 in India is more aggressive than severe. There is 55% more oxygen needed in the second wave of COVID. As people rummage for oxygen all over the country, measures are taken to ramp up production. The government admitted as well that in the second wave, there are more people who need oxygen. But as people heave for breath, the government claims that it has more to do with panic for hospitalization and irrational use of oxygen. The question that arises here is that, how did India get here? There are three key factors behind what went wrong: the government's response, public behavior, and the variants. Firstly, there was a slower response to the second wave. India took very swift action when the pandemic first took hold last year, imposing one of the most aggressive lockdowns in the world. The measures forced millions of economic migrants to walk vast distances to their hometowns and villages. People were not angry with the government at the time, despite the pain, because there was a sense the whole world was snowed under a pandemic that science did not understand. This year, mass gatherings, including the world's largest religious festival of Kumbh Mela, were allowed to continue virtually unrelenting, even when the second surge was already well underway. Complacency, even arrogance, after overcoming the first surge primed the country for disaster. Back in few days, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was boasting about the size of a crowd at a political rally in West Bengal for his party, the BJP. A severe lack of masks and social distancing made the view of such events so alarming. There is a very sharp and disturbing contrast in the way in which the government has reacted to large gatherings of Muslims last year and large gatherings of Hindus. Besides blaming mass gatherings and poor behavior for igniting the surge, the rise of the more infectious variants is also believed to be fanning the flames. It's a strong belief that this virus is different. It's a mutant virus infecting children and young people, which was not so common earlier. The variants are also believed to have immune-evading qualities and can reinfect recovered patients. Leaders from across the world have expressed their concern over an unpredicted rise in COVID-19 cases in India. Singapore has shipped 4 cryogenic oxygen tanks to help India tackle the shortage in oxygen supply. The United Arab Emirates government is also coordinating with Indian embassy officials for the transfer of oxygen tankers. The European Union and Russia are expected to send both oxygen-related and pharmaceutical supplies. Saudi Arabia is also shipping 80 MTs of liquid oxygen to India. Britain has said that it is sending life-saving equipment to India, including ventilators and oxygen concentrators. Preventions that can be made in order to prevent further and more unrest includes rationalized use of oxygen, as well as supportive drugs. As the second wave attacked, there was a panic. People wanted to get admitted to hospitals, therefore, the oxygen requirement suddenly declined. A rationalized use of oxygen is very important. Moreover, wastage of oxygen must not happen. The government has cautioned about the irrational use of remdesivir and other drugs. The director of All India Institute of Medical Sciences reported that it needs to be noted that remdesivir is not a magic bullet. It is not decreasing the mortality rate. It was shown to be useful only in those patients who were hospitalized, who had fallen oxygen saturation, and had infiltrates on the chest X-ray. It is not for those in home isolation. The government added that other drugs like Firavin can be used as supportive treatment, but there is not enough scientific proof in this favor, so they should be used judiciously, and all the protocols that have been issued by the government for treatment should be followed strictly. Besides all this, the hopeful prospect still remains there, as the government experts say that the rate of death has not increased. There is only a marginally higher proportion of patients in the younger age group despite the opening up of activities. Want to stay updated with the happenings around the world? Subscribe to InfoSplash and don't forget to press the bell icon. Stay home, stay safe.